everyone, and welcome back to your weekly PlayStation podcast, Talking the PS, for another fantastic episode where we round up all of the weekly gaming and PlayStation news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/Helix Plays Games and up there in the digital clouds on your podcast preference of choice. You're joining myself, Chris, one of your hosts for today, alongside my man of many pixels on the anniversary of this show. 52 weeks, 1 year, consistently every single Tuesday here on YouTube and podcast services. Welcome once again, Richie.
Happy birthday, Talking the PS.
Happy birthday indeed. No Rob with us today to celebrate. He hates parties and celebration of all kind, so he's decided to still continue moving into his flat.
True.
He will
Doesn't
be
even
with
like
us.
cake.
He doesn't. Weirdly enough, he will be with us yesterday for XPass because of the nature and order and the way we record these things. But we're here to talk about PlayStation. We've got a great show lined up for you, breaking down all of Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest announcements and reveals. Also going into Devolver Digital, and we will ask the ever-important question, Richie. Have you seen Winnie's Haul? That's right. I'll leave that one for right at the very, very end. Plenty to talk about, plenty to discuss. But before we get into all of it, don't forget to like, subscribe, ring that bell so you're kept in the loop with all of the great content we do here on the channel, such as XPass, our weekly Xbox podcast, Talking the PS, this very show, Luna Listening goes up every month, our monthly Amazon Luna podcast, our live streams, and more importantly, our live reactions. So, I have a cough. As of the time of recording, you will have watched us, hopefully, watch along to Ubisoft Forward yesterday. Xbox Showcase was on Sunday, and of course, all of you wonderful fine folks tuned in for aforementioned Summer Game Fest this past Thursday. Apologies in advance, I do have a bit of a tickly cough. I will try and mute it as much as possible throughout the podcast, and Richie will step in and talk on my behalf. But hopefully I've got plenty of liquids to keep me going. But Richie, we're going to talk about some games. In the meantime, what have you been playing this week?
So, Tears of the Kingdom. I haven't actually been playing a lot of Tears of the Kingdom this week, actually. Because last weekend, I and a few friends, we went to go see a Final Fantasy Symphony, which was awesome. Really cool experience. And on the back of that, I wanted to go play Final Fantasy.
Oh, okay.
As you would, I did actually start my replay of Final Fantasy VII before Tears of the Kingdom took over my life. So I just jumped back into it. So that's been the main thing I've been playing this week. Because I have been saying I want to replay through that game before Rebirth comes out.
Well,
yeah, we've got news on that coming up.
So,
I was going
to say, in terms of the orchestra, then, what was the setup like for it?
So it was in a concert hall.
Meetings adjourned.
There's a few pictures on my Twitter at RichieC89 over on Twitter. Not many because I don't take a lot of photos, just not what I get up to. But there's a few and just the orchestra on the stage. There was no screen or anything, just playing the music. I've been to a Pokemon one before, where they had a screen up, so when they're playing music, the screen would have the gameplay footage, which kind of helped with context. Mm-hmm. I think that could have been something very useful, because it covered Final Fantasy 6, 7, and 10. I've never played 6 before, so like 1/3 of the music I've basically never listened to. Mm. So a bit of more context, I think, could have been there. It's still cool. And there's a few things that I think they missed, actually. They didn't play To Zanarkand, which is from Final Fantasy X. Like, it's basically the opening, one of the major themes. And you know the classic Final Fantasy fanfare?
The one I'd probably recognise. Yeah.
Didn't play that, didn't, okay.
Wow, interesting.
And I'm like, come on, guys. Like,
that's a given.
You got,
yeah,
that could have just been a little bit there.
That's like the Killers not doing Mr. Brightside or something on a tour. You got to give the people what they want.
But what it was, because it was a proper symphony. It's not just an orchestra playing video game music.
Right.
So yeah, it was really cool.
Would you go again?
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. I didn't go to a Final Fantasy one. I did attend a Disney 100 concert with the wife this past week, though. So we went and checked out all of the...
Both of us nerding out there.
Yeah, completely. Mine was slightly different. It was always catered towards a slightly younger audience to some element as well. I basically went through the whole 100 years of Disney, starting off with Fantasia back in the day, with colour and sound going together. And just went... They kind of bracketed everything off into categories. So, like, he's all the adventure music. He's the music about love. He's the music about fantasy, all that, and kind of segmented the songs out. There was Star Wars in there a little bit, Pirates of the Caribbean, so it wasn't just like your animated stuff. Yeah, really enjoyed it. Again, orchestra singers was something different, and yeah, I had fun. So not much video games. I am chipping away at my Jedi Survivor Platinum still. I'm collecting priorite shards, which are these little kind of crystals that you trade in at the local shop. And there is a trophy for buy everything in the shop. A little bit tedious, if I'm honest, because the map's still like Jedi Fallen Order. It's multi-layered and it's a bit all over the place, but I think I'm down to my last 6 I need to find. So I'm grinding away at that. And I've played a little bit more of Planet of Lana. So I think I'm nearly at the end of that game. I think I put about 4.5 hours into it now. And it feels like it's reaching its conclusion.
Yeah, I think it's meant to be about 3 to 5 hours in length, so you probably are.
Yeah, but thoroughly enjoying it. Art style's gorgeous. If you've not checked it out yet, it is on Game Pass at the moment. Thoroughly recommend it, especially if you want to play it in handheld. And Rob, what have you been playing? He's not here. I forgot. I keep forgetting that because I keep missing him on these shows.
Yeah, it's like, when was the last time you and Rob actually did the podcast
I don't
together?
know if Rob even exists anymore. I'm starting to think you're Rob and Rob's him, and you've never been in the same room together.
That's not true.
It's not true at all, no, certainly not.
We've been in the same room together
many
times. There's one more thing I have played that I think we should talk about.
Do go into it.
So, at Summer Games Fest, Liza P finally got a release date.
Wonderful.
And they dropped a demo, which was out immediately. I have since downloaded the demo and played it. I didn't play it to completion, because I think it's about... the demo. I played about an hour. I think there's meant to be about 3 or 4 hours worth of demo there. But I did take down one boss.
And how hard was it?
It took me 2 attempts to take down the first boss.
Okay.
I think that's fine. That is if you're a hardcore Souls guy who likes really crushing difficulty, you might be a little disappointed by that.
Right.
But if you're not, I think this is a bit more approachable.
Interesting.
I think you should try out the demo if you haven't already, because it is a Soulsborne game.
Right.
It's 100%. The look of it, the feel of it. If you make a mistake, you are punished for it. However, there is elements of it that I do think, while maintaining like the Soulsborne style of combat, do make it a bit more approachable. Like your classic flasks, which are your healing pots. I can't remember what they're called in Liza P. You have 3 of them in the demo. I don't know what it'll be like in the main game. You probably be able to get more. Once you've used all 3 of them up, you can recharge one of them by attacking enemies.
Right.
So if you're like, because during my boss fight that I actually succeeded in, I did use up all 3 flasks, then did some damage to the boss, then could use another flask.
Right, so you do have a chance to regen almost without just dying first.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. There's also things sometimes when you get hit, you have a chance to get your health back. I don't know the full mechanics of that because it wasn't explained, but I did notice a few times when I got hit, rather than like my health bar going from like red to black and just gone, it'd go like, it fade first, and if I did some damage, then it just brightened back up.
Right, okay. So
I wonder maybe it's a time window, or there's a few things in there, while it is can be punishing, can also have a few things that are forgiving.
So in regards to that then, how did you find the world and the introduction? Because I know a lot of us struggled with the tutorial, let's say, for Wolong, Fallen Dynasty. Did this ease you in a little bit to the fighting mechanics and the gameplay a little bit better for a demo?
Yeah, 100%, yeah. Wolong was very much throw you straight in the deep end. Like, within 20 minutes, you're facing the first boss, and the first boss is crushing in terms of difficulty. The first boss in Liza P was relatively easy, I'd say, for a Soulsborne game. And it does that classic thing where you do a bit of exploration and you loop back. I kept loop backing onto this main square. And then you'd open up a gate, which you could only open from one side, and then you could almost fast travel to the boss. So you have that bonfire in that main square. It's not called a bonfire, but just... And then you could just pretty much run straight to the boss within like a minute. So if you like felt under leveled, what you could actually do is you could just camp around that square and just like do some grinding to level up, which is something that was very difficult in Wolong.
Interesting. Well, I'm
So
sure.
I think it's a lot more approachable, and I'd recommend people give it a go.
Well, demo's available now. Game launches on September 19th, and it is coming straight to Game Pass as well. So we probably spoke about it a little bit, on yesterday's show. But Richie, we're here to break down all of the PlayStation news. As I mentioned, Summer Game Fest happened this past Thursday, so we'll get into it. We won't go through all the games beat for beat because there's quite a lot on Showcase. But we will go into some of our favourites and probably what you, our audience, familiarise with the most. So, Richie, if you could do us the honours of introducing us to
the properly prepared PlayStation perusing points, aka the news.
The news.
Not sure why I put a weird voice on there, but I did.
Not properly. Yeah, we could do that every week. And of course, the news segment on the show every week is brought to you by our wonderful Helix Heroes, the fantastic members who support the channel that extra little bit more, just like you can, from as little as 99 pence, less than $1. You get early access to this very show, our monthly Lunar Listening podcast, stickers and badges next to your name, and of course, you help support the channel because every time we do these live shows, we get copyright struck, and we get no royalties for the video whatsoever because they like to play an R&B dubstep video licensed song over the top of most of the trailers.
We should say as well, at the moment, at the time of recording, our Summer Games Fest live reaction is currently blocked.
You can't even view it.
Yeah, we haven't got like a strike against the channel or anything. They've just went, nah, no one can see this.
Thanks, NBC.
We're trying to sort it out, but
it's just tedious work for essentially what's a song. But we digress. Of course, our Helix Heroes, you can sign up just like Krinagar Gamer did this past month. So thank you for joining the Helix Hero crew. Enjoy all your rewards and benefits. And thank you very much for your support. And also to the 50 plus of you who also continue to support us on this endeavour of video game news. Starting off then, Richie, Summer Game Fest happened. Jeff Keighley took to the stage in the YouTube Theatre in LA to round out a bunch of announcements and reveals. And I want to start off with a new reveal which we got, which was very surprising considering the Ubisoft Forward happened yesterday on Monday. Prince of Persia, but not the Prince of Persia you may have been expecting. Ubisoft took to the stage to kick the event off, announcing Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown for PS5, PS4 and more. It looks like the Sands of Time remake, which has gone back to the drawing board with the original developers, has kind of been moved aside as this one's ushered in. It seems to be a brand new original adventure of the beloved series with a decent trailer. Basically, Richie showcasing kind of like a 2.5D, almost like Immortals Phoenix Rising art style take on the game. What were your initial first thoughts?
I think it looks cool. It's Ubisoft doing something interesting with that IP, which is what I'm about. Like, not everything has to be an open world action adventure RPG. Fill out the map with towers and collectibles and stuff. This is a 2D side scroller action game. Like, it looks like almost like a throwback to like an older era of games where this would be very commonplace, but it's good to see. Like,
yeah, Ubisoft in the write-up actually put it down as a Metroidvania-esque as well, so they are acknowledging that the type of gameplay we should expect in this title. So it's not quite classic Prince of Persia. There does seem to be some kind of time-warped elements. A lot of wall jumping, which you would expect from Prince of Persia and a Metroidvania title. A couple of wild boss fights where they're very much embracing Persian mythology. The developers said in one of the Ubisoft blog posts that they had a great and fun time delving into Persian mythology, which I think is probably quite alien to a lot of people. I personally don't know anything outside of like the 300 movie. Is my limitations on it. So interested to see some of the mythical creatures that come into it. It does kind of have a fun vibe, and more importantly, out January 18th, which is almost a year past the date the Prince of Persia remake should have launched. Just for a bit of irony on launch dates there for you.
And coming to Luna as well. I believe this is actually the Rayman team working on this one.
It is, yeah, Rayman Legends, which, again, if you've played Rayman Legends, they know all about fun 2D platformers, so
yeah,
seems like a match made in heaven. Although apparently the video on YouTube is getting a lot of downvotes and dislikes, which my general vibe, and from what I've seen of like podcasters and influencers who cover the games industry, this was like a great start.
Yeah, it's not like the biggest game ever, but
not at all.
Do you think it's just because it's Prince of Persia, but it's not the Sands of Time remake, and
it's nothing new. It's not what they were promised.
It's just the internet overreacting to something. Well, I think if you look at this game in isolation, and forget the fact that it's a Ubisoft game and some of the negativity that comes with. Forget the fact that it's not the Prince of Persia remake and how bad that looked. if you look at this game just on its own merits, I think it looks good.
I think it looks cool as well. I don't think by any imagination it's going to be a full price game either. It's probably going to be a lot lower entry point.
Oh, yeah, I'm saying it's probably going to be like the 40 quid range or something.
Yeah, I would have guessed even less, but we'll have to wait. Well, we won't have to wait long to find out. Hopefully coming January. Moving on, though, we got a big announcement from the world of Spider-Man. And weirdly enough, even though it was at the PlayStation Showcase last week, and Insomniac and PlayStation chose not to date the reveal of Venom and the gameplay and some of the different characters, we did see them on stage at Summer Game Fest, and they did reveal a date. So we now actually know Spider-Man 2 will be landing on PlayStation 5's October 20th this year. So not too far to go for that one, just seeing out the summer. The creative director took the stage to basically talk a little bit about the game. There wasn't really much new, if we're honest, showed off. They showed a couple of bits of concept art. However, since then, and now pre-orders have gone live, I don't know if you've managed to have a look, Richie, but there are a lot of versions of this game available. There's the initial pre-order bonuses, which is a couple of spider suits, which, again, praise where it's due. The game fully embraces the cosmetic suits so well, and they're not monetized, which is the big thing for me. They could have easily put new Spider-Man suits in for like £4.99 a pop. And they don't. You just unlock them by doing collectibles in the world. So I do appreciate that, even though there does seem to be a lot of them in these pre-order bonuses. There is a digital deluxe version that comes with all the pre-order bonuses that we just mentioned, the different suits, 10 additional unique suits, an additional photo mode frames and stickers, and 2 additional skill points to spend in your skill tree. Then we have the physical collector's edition, which comes a badass 19-inch collector's statue of Venom fighting Spider-Man, which does look cool. And that comes with a steelbook case and the aforementioned statue. My guess, though, is it's going to come with a digital code of the game, which always bugs me. Why give me... Yeah, full digital PS5 game. So why give me a steelbook and then not the disc?
I never get that. It's like...
My guess is because the collector's edition statues are kind of shipped worldwide. So the different...
It could also be because the me and you have the PS5 disc version, but these are discless version. So maybe they're doing digital only for like games like this, so that no matter what PS5 you have, you're fine.
Yeah, quite possibly. I know that's how Ubisoft do it. That's what bugged me with my Valhalla collector's edition and my Odyssey one, that it comes with a digital version.
That might just be one of the things that you have to accept for the digital Dulux versions and collector's editions and stuff going forward, because both on the Xbox side there is that split where you have a disc or discless version.
Yeah, absolutely. I know the Ubisoft ones also come with like every language booklet. You get like 5 different language booklets, so they're very much made as generic as possible to be shipped.
It's to keep
shipped anywhere.
You want to keep down the number of SKUs. Yeah. By having all the languages in one booklet means you only have to produce one booklet.
Exactly. But October 20th, some people thought it was going to be September, so a little bit later. However, it is nice to know as a PlayStation 5 owner, I have a AAA first party, and let's face it, it's Spider-Man. This thing's going to sell bucket loads.
Sony seems to have changed their marketing recently. Before we got a huge dump of like, here's a ton of games to look forward to. Now they seem to be a bit more focused on, here is the one game that you're going to need to look at. And like the start of the year was things like VR2. Now we've got currently Final Fantasy 16 is where's the big hype, the big marketing push is going. Mm-hmm. Next seems to be Spider-Man 2. And I think once Final Fantasy 16's out the way, then you'll probably see ramp up. Well, we have started seeing ramp up for Final Fantasy 7. Mm-hmm. And then Spider-Man will probably take... It just seems they've got maybe only 2-3 exclusive titles in the works in the marketing push at any one given time.
Yeah, it seems
I think we'll probably hear more about whatever else is coming out, like probably next year, realistically. Once we're getting close to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Spider-Man 2, that's probably when we'll be hearing about what's the early games for next year.
I'm hoping as soon as Spider-Man's out of the way, we get it a little bit closer, but there is a small news story about it later on in the show. Keeping with the Summer Game Fest, though, we saw some more of Alan Wake 2. We saw some extended gameplay footage, which again, this is the part of the showcase where it started to feel like we were getting recaps on the PlayStation showcase almost. He's Spider-Man, he's a date, he's Alan Wake already. But they did show off some really good horror-esque Resident Evil-inspired gameplay. We saw the FBI agent, the new character in the game, taking on a deer in the forest with limited ammunition and using the torch to essentially dissuade the creatures of the night. We both have high praise, I think, for this game so far, Alan Wake. I don't think either of us have played the first game, but everything they're doing for this sequel is ticking the right boxes.
Yeah, I think it looks great. Like, if you are, it's one of them. If you are a Resident Evil fan, here you go. Like, play this. Like, I think you'll have a great time with it. Assuming the story and stuff's there, but it looks like it is. Like, the gameplay looks great. It looks beautiful in a kind of like dark and dingy way, but
yeah, not quite Sunset Boulevard, but it's definitely got that eerie horror tone, Lost in the Forest vibe nailed down. I'll be keen to get, pardon me, Rob's impressions on this one, with him being a massive Resident Evil fan, and that's what has me intrigued for this. Is someone who keeps saying again on the show, I want to get around to playing RE2, 3, and 4 at some point, and
now I'm
like, do I just go with Alan Wake instead, because it's kind of like in a similar vein, and there's less of them. In essence, I could play Alan Wake remastered and then jump straight into this one. But yeah, we saw the fight. We saw the fight with the kind of the deer hunter dude, monster, whatever he is. We'll learn more about that in no time in the near future. But Alan Wake 2 coming soon. We then got the surprise, Richie, of a new Sonic the Hedgehog game, which you and me are always down for. Sonic Superstars was revealed as a 2.5D platformer, seemingly with up to 4-player co-op. Looking at this one, we're both big fans of Sonic Mania. Neither of us actually checked out Frontiers, did we? The 3D one that came out back in last year.
Sonic shouldn't be 3D. It doesn't really work that well. And to be honest, Sonic Frontiers looked like a big open world with nothing in it.
Yeah, it came out with mixed reviews, mostly positive though. In terms of this one, yeah, they teased it looking like Sonic Mania, and then it went into this crazy 3D world. And then we saw, as the trailer went on, new characters get added. I was saying new characters, I mean additional characters. Tails is there, Knuckles is there, Amy's there. And it seemingly looks very new Super Mario Bros. Where they're all on screen at the same time. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think it's multiplayer co-op action?
Yes, but I'm not sure how you're going to do that well in a Sonic game, because Sonic games are about fast platforming. And so, like, how does the co-op stuff work? I don't really see how that's going to be fun, because I know it had co-op back in the day, all the way back as Sonic 2, but let's be fair, the younger brother would be playing Tails and would just disappear off the screen half the time.
Yeah, you wouldn't care. You'll be back in a second.
Yeah, it's like it's not really a good co-op. It was never really a good co-op experience. Like, so how's this gonna work?
Yeah, it's interesting because with Sonic supposed to obviously be quite frenetic and fast, and if you've got multiple characters on the screen, you'd imagine if one goes off too far to one side, what's happening with the other 3 characters or players who are left elsewhere on the screen? So we're not too sure about that one. However, Sonic 2D, I'm always down for more Sonic 2D. So the more of that, the better. It does look gorgeous. The visuals. It's one of those I'm not expecting it to come out at full price, so it'll get almost like a little halfway pass for that front. But They didn't really confirm which team it was, I don't think, in the trailer. I'm hoping it's the Sonic Mania team, because they nailed Sonic Mania. And it's been many years since.
I'm not sure if it is, because I would have thought, my assumption would be like Sonic Mania team would probably want to keep to the retro art style a bit more. Where this looks like it could be what a modern 2D Sonic game looks like. That seems to be what they're trying here. Well,
they tried that before. On the PS3, they did Sonic the Hedgehog 1, 2 again in like 3D, but they only ever did 2 parts and gave up on it.
You have to actually make them good games. That's the problem. They did with like Sonic 4. They've tried stuff, but if the game isn't fun, it doesn't matter how it looks. And I think that was always the problem.
Well, now with the success of the movies as well in the Netflix shows, it's seeming like they need to get out these games to keep it kind of the optics ticking over nicely.
It would be really cool if you could just switch between art styles. You know, like you can with Halo 1. You can switch between the more modern and the original art style. If you could just do that for the entire game, that would be like the ideal situation. Because if you prefer the retro look, because I think I do prefer the retro look.
That would be cool if you could just jump seamlessly between them. There does seem to be some kind of element of like warping between different art styles. There's a pixelated world they end up in at some point, so it seems to be taking inspiration from Mania, but with a co-op side. But we'll find more about that in the coming months as well as we creep closer to its launch date. They didn't give a date, but coming soon. Next up, we got Nicolas Cage taken to the stage to reveal his Dead by Daylight character.
Nicolas Stage.
We did have rumours of this one. The other one was Homelander from The Boys and Jean-Claude Van Damme, or was that another game? I can't remember now.
Well, Nicolas Cage was Jean-Claude Van Damme is
Mortal
he's one of
Kombat?
the fighting games. Yeah,
Mortal Kombat. You think that's where
yeah.
I'm crossed?
Nicolas Cage. This was actually previously announced. Me and Rob covered it on XPass.
Ah, okay. That's why I've missed it. Okay.
But this is before. It was just like all we had was Nicolas Cage's coming to Dead by Daylight, and like the splash screen of his character.
Yeah.
That's all we had.
Yeah.
Now we've actually seen a bit more, and I mean, he took the stage to talk about it. So
yeah. It's not. He's not a killer. He is one of the people who gets chased after. So don't expect to be like massacring people as Nicolas Cage. But just another random twist we got on stage. We got some Witcher stuff followed up with Henry Cavill doing kind of a video call in as well. So big names come across. It's his first venture into video games, so welcome him with open arms. Just like you probably will, or just like Rob might as our resident Yakuza fan, we got a trailer for Like a Dragon Gaiden, The Man Who Erased His Name, and an announcement of November 9th. This is expected to follow on, of course, from it seemingly is the never-ending list of Yakuza / Like a Dragon games that are coming out, Richie. I don't know where this sits in the grand order of things, if I'm honest.
Haven't got a clue.
Game looks fun. Gameplay looks nice and tidy. I think
it's clearly in the modern era of the Like a Dragon, because they have started delving into the past a bit as well. But yeah.
Yeah, it's all set in the same place. I think someone in the chat during the live stream, might have been Hjorvar, actually pointed out that they all take place kind of in and around the same city, so they can crank out the games quite quickly because the location doesn't vary that much. But again, big AAA game coming out. SEGA kind of firing on all cylinders with a couple of their IP at the moment. We'll probably actually see more of this game if you are intrigued by it at the upcoming RGG Summit that takes place in Japan every year. That's kind of where SEGA and a lot of the other Japanese developers and publishers get together and showcase what's on the horizon. So it's like their mini version of E3 essentially for Japanese studios. So we'll find out more next week, hopefully, about Like a Dragon Gaiden. What does can you remember what Gaiden means? I'm sure it's specifically
story.
Is it? Okay, yeah. I knew there was a reason why it was in there, because we've got Ninja Gaiden as well back in the day. Is that just Ninja Story then?
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, it's not. I don't think it's one. It's one of them where I don't think it's a perfect translation, but it's a good approximation. Like,
yeah, a good version of it.
Yeah.
Is a Ninja Gaiden was made by Team Ninja, right?
I'm not sure. It sounds possible. Yeah.
Typical full circle thing. You gotta laugh. Next up, we have Warhammer 40k Space Marine, which got another trailer to reveal, and this revealed that it was going to be a 3-player co-op campaign. Very, very, very similar in my mind when I was looking at it. Gears of War style, Richie. Now, we've never played a Gears of War game together. However,
I know Discord keeps trying to get us to.
I know
we will.
Yeah, we'll get round to one. We did Halo, remember? And yeah, co-op campaign with it. So I played this game back on PS3, the original one, I should say, not this game. Had a great time with it. It's just utter chaos. The story didn't at the time really mean a great deal. It's guns and chainsaw guns and lots of bugs and aliens and stuff, and you're going to take them on for the Imperials. There are 3 of us, Richie. Rob's a big fan of Warhammer. The game looks great. And as we said, I've got a soft spot for Gears, so this could fill that gap while we wait for... I say that, of course, now recording on the Saturday. We could have a new Gears game in the pipeline.
Indeed, yeah.
But I just don't know about it yet. So, Warhammer, what's your take on this one? You down for a 3-player co-op campaign with you, me, and Rob?
I like the look of it, but it feels like this is a game I'd rather wait for it to come to PS Plus or Game Pass.
It looks like a Game Pass title. It looked like it could be a good win for Xbox.
Yeah, and with how much stuff this year's got stacked and probably in early next year, it feels like one of them where it's like, I like it, I would like to play this when I get time, which is why I think I'd rather wait for like it to come to Game Pass or like PS Plus.
You know, one of the things we never really covered with Game Pass is that multiplayer games, it probably helps them a little bit more, because if all 3 of us get it essentially for free, that surely must be better for the player base. But
well, that's it. It's like, because otherwise, instead of having to drop maybe like between like probably 100, 120, well, actually probably 180 quid to all 3 of us get a copy.
All free.
We all get it for part of our subscription, which means we are more likely to play it. Like, in fact, if this was day one to play PS Plus or Game Pass, pretty much probably that week we're playing it on stream.
Absolutely. But we'll talk about that more. It's coming this winter, so we don't have a locked-in date, but we'll probably get one later on. Maybe at Gamescom. Actually, that seems like a good place for this title to show up once again. Moving away to a smaller title, we got Quantic Dream's first published title, Under the Waves. This one seems like a slight departure from what we've been talking about so far. It was announced last year, but we've just got a release date of August the 29th. It's made by Parallel Studios, but as I mentioned, Quantic Dream, who made Detroit Become Human, obviously they've since finished their contract with PlayStation for their 3 titles, Beyond Two Souls and Heavy Rain. So they finished those games, they moved on. I think they were acquired, right, by... was it a Chinese company or French company? They were hired by
I can't remember.
There was a bigger conglomerate basically bought them out, so there's no chance of any PlayStation exclusives, I think, anytime soon. Unfortunately, I'd love a follow-up to Detroit Become Human. However, though, they have branched out into the publishing arm, and we've got Under the Waves, which seemingly follows professional diver Stan, who takes on a solo mission to the bottom of the North Sea. Set in an alternative 1970s universe, the game is a narrative-focused adventure with dramatic themes. The character's grief manifests as strange occurrences in his watery surroundings begin to happen. It looks like there's going to be a mix of gameplay, with Stan having to go about his normal day job, while strange stuff happens in the dark depths. It reminds me a little bit of if you've ever seen The Martian with Matt Damon. Like, he's not in space, but he is isolated in this kind of little submersible craft, and you kind of your own mind, I think, just goes a bit crazy. Art style looks pretty, and it was kind of one of the standout smaller titles for me from the whole showcase.
Yeah, so Quantic Dream were bought by NetEase.
NetEase, yeah, I knew it was one of the big secret shadow companies behind the scenes.
I'm intrigued. I've never played a Quantic Dream game.
You've never played them? I'd highly recommend Detroit Become Human, I think, is my...
I think I had it installed on my PS4 for about 2 years, and then eventually I just, like, it's one of the games you just never got round to playing.
Yeah. It'd be a good one for a stream, actually, because it's not action heavy. It's like a Telltale game, so you've got these gorgeous cinematics, a couple of decisions that the chat could help you potentially make, and it tells a really good story about kind of how androids in the future are incorporated into our world, but then... kind of similar to iRobot story, where they get so intelligent that are they assimilated into society, or are they? It's kind of one of those futuristic tales.
It might hit a bit differently now with how big AI is.
It probably does. It's like movies like iRobot and stuff are very, very different. I've said a couple of movies from back in the day, like the 90s especially, where they were forecasting what technology would evolve into, and a lot of it became a reality. So yeah. Interesting, but definitely recommend that game. I've not played Heavy Rain. That's the one that everyone still recommends to me, so we'll get to that eventually. One of the ones
in the UK, there's enough there anyway.
Yeah. One of the ones I'm not going to show a video for because we'll get a copyright strike is they did show us a little kind of featurette for the upcoming Twisted Metal PlayStation TV series on Peacock in the United States. I'm not sure what it shows up on in the UK yet. I feel like it's probably going to be Sky. It usually is. They showed like a sneak peek video, Richie, of about 2 minutes long of Anthony Mackie, the main character, Falcon from Marvel World, fighting Sweet Tooth in like an arcade, and I think the general consensus is this looks bad. This looks really bad. Like, the dialogue didn't work, the jokes were flat, the whole thing kind of looked like it was a TV advert, not a high quality production TV show.
Yeah, it's like, you know what it kind of reminds me of? It's sort of like a cinematic trailer for a game like Payday. Like,
yeah. I mean, the clown
and
definitely helps.
then you'd cut into like the title card, and then maybe see a bit of gameplay, and it's like, but did anyone realistically think that this was going to look good?
I mean, the fact that there's no cars or vehicles involved in the featurette that you're going to show off, like, I want to see chaos, action, vehicles crashing about all over the place. And instead I get some weird back and forth musical sing-song with our two characters.
The only way I think this TV show could actually be good if it just doubles down on just car on car at basic violence, and just, this is going to be brain dead action, just chaos. Like, so for like maybe half an hour once a week, you can just lose yourself in just cars smashing into each other. Yeah. Interesting. You're going to watch it? It looks like it might be... No. Like, I there's not enough hours in the day. Like, I could be doing something important, more interesting, like sitting down in an empty room. Yeah. Like, it looks terrible. Like,
what you could be doing, though, is checking out the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth trailer, because the show wrapped up with... Jeff Keighley did tease this, so we actually theorised it was going to be Death Stranding because of his relationships with Kojima and the fact that we've not seen anything from Death Stranding 2 yet, and it wasn't at the PlayStation showcase. So it ended actually with Rebirth, which is the 2 out of 3 entry into the Final Fantasy VII remaster. Now, you did attend a Symphony, as you said. So despite the fact that it's out in just a couple of weeks, not Final Fantasy 16, is it? Is out in a couple of weeks, I should say.
Yeah.
We've now been bombarded with Rebirth news, so just to keep the hype train going.
I feel sorry for 16 because I think 16 is massively overshadowed by Rebirth.
It's an odd choice to put them to like marketing so close, but then even just releasing, I guess it's got a date for early 2024, so you're talking like 7-8 months potentially after the launch of 16. Obviously, different games and nostalgia and stuff aside. Does this pull your attention away from 16 as an avid Final Fantasy fan?
I mean, generally in terms of this being like the closer at Game Awards, it didn't really do much for me because it's already a purchase. In my mind, I've already bought this game. Like, I know I'm going to buy this game. I'm probably going to buy it day one. So it's one of them games, because it is a sequel to a game I'm literally playing right now. Well, not right now, but I will be after we finish recording.
Yep.
Like, yeah, of course I'm buying this game. So like, I don't actually need to see anything of the game really, like, because I already have seen a lot of the game in the first part.
Yeah, and the second, obviously, this is one game spread out into 3 massive entries, and no doubt they're going to expand on loads of open world elements and such. For someone who's not a Final Fantasy fan, I've said time and time again on the show, this is where the show for me kind of just like ended on like a quite flat note, because I appreciate it for what it is, but it was nothing new. Like you said, it's entry 2 of 3 of a game we knew we were going to get.
There's no way this like trailer was going to have the same impact as Final Fantasy VII Remake, the first part did, because that was a oh my god they're actually doing it moment.
Yeah, it's happening. People.
This is we know they're doing it. Like, we just need give me a date and then I'll buy it. That's all I need from this game, because like gameplay wise, it looks like Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is what you'd expect. Which means that it comes down to graphics and story. Graphics. Final Fantasy VII Remake looks amazing, so I don't care, not worried there. So in story, like, I don't want to know. Like, it's been a long time since I've played through the original Final Fantasy VII, and I've probably forgotten a lot of the detail there, and I like that.
Yeah.
That makes it interesting to replay it again without the, like, I'm not sat there when pre-playing going, well, they did that slightly different. I'm just enjoying that story again, almost like revisiting it.
You get it going blind.
So, like, I don't want to know about the story, what's going on here. So just give me the game. Give me the game.
On 2 discs as well, which it seems to be a bit of a weird flex online. They're kind of posting out going on PS5 on 2 discs. It's like, does that mean anything? That just means it's going to take me a pain in the ass longer to install the game.
I think it's just showcasing probably like
scope.
The size of the scope of the game. Like, we couldn't fit this on one Blu-ray. Like, you'd have to invent better discs.
What's the Blu-ray, like 150 gig? Is it? I think standard, like a dual layered one.
I'm not sure you will get like much improvement in like disc format standard anymore, because I think it's almost redundant at this point. Well, everything's now has gone more digital, so
yeah, you got your good old day one patch as well. So interesting. Yeah, but that was the end of the showcase overall. Obviously, there are a couple of titles that we've left out and stuff. There was a couple of indie things. There was a Pokemon with guns game that I think Pack something.
Oh,
I can't remember.
Yeah, it looks like there's a design to a literally straight Pokemon style. Yeah,
a couple of mobile games. Richie's favourite game, Marvel Snap, was showcased. There's Conquest mode coming. But aside from that, overall, I think the general consensus out there is the showcase was solid showing, maybe ran about half an hour too long. Not as many advertisements, I think, as the Game Awards traditionally has, which was a nice bit of a refreshing take. I think the overall consensus was like a B grade, but a little bit low for me because there wasn't as much on show that I wanted. Kind of similar to the PlayStation showcase. It was great to see a lot of stuff, but for me personally and my tastes, I wanted to see a little bit more. And then the grand finale again, as I mentioned before, because I'm not a Final Fantasy fan, it was like, oh, you bigged it up like this big. I want to see something new, not something I knew about already.
Yeah, I think the big hit is clearly Final Fantasy Rebirth, Spider-Man 2, Liza P. I'd say you could put that in there, Alan Wake 2, and it's all stuff that we know about.
Yeah, I think that's why it felt a little bit flat for me, because it was like I watched these showcases to be shown what's coming in the future, and like I knew about Alan Wake 2 from last week. I knew about Spider-Man 2 from last week. I knew there was going to be a follow-up to Final Fantasy, and it was like, okay.
Like, I mean, what they showed was good. Like, showing what we saw of Alan Wake, that was we saw something different of Alan Wake. That definitely moved the needle for me. It's like, before we're like, hey, we're making Alan Wake 2. It's like, no, this is how it's going to look and play. It's like, great. Final Fantasy Rebirth, like, yeah, it's confirmed. You saw a bit of what's going to go on. We know now it's going to be early next year. That's good. Marvel Spider-Man 2, we got a release date. Good. Like, Liza P, we got a demo. Good. This is all good stuff. But I find it hard to push it higher than maybe a low B grade.
Yeah.
Because, like, Prince of Persia, like, that's probably the surprise of the show, the opener.
Yeah. It was a good start. It was like, oh, yes, something new and different. And, yeah, we'll go from there. But, you know what, credit where credit's due to Jeff. It was part of Summer Game Fest again. It wasn't the whole festival because we've got Xbox, we've got Ubisoft.
Yeah, I was going to say,
collectively,
that's something we should point out. This is a hard showcase for them because Sony are doing their own thing, Xbox are doing their own thing, Ubisoft are doing their own thing. Like, Nintendo will always do their own thing. Everyone's now at a point where this is why I think E3 doesn't work anymore. It's because everyone now is just doing their own thing.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
So to even have enough content to produce a show of the quality he did is great. Like,
yeah, I'm surprised he didn't get anything more from EA. He got Immortals of Avium, which looked good. But we saw it at the PlayStation Showcase, so there wasn't anything new there. But yeah,
they might just be holding their cards close to the chest to let this current period settle down and then launch something like in July or something. They're going to do an EA Play event in July.
Quite possibly.
Like, when there's no one's looking at what PlayStation are doing or Xbox are doing or Ubisoft.
Quite possibly. That wasn't the end of the week, though, because we did have a Devolver Direct, which pardon me, we didn't cover on the channel. However, I must ask, Richie, did you check out the Devolver Direct? Have you watched it?
I didn't.
Right, okay.
I've watched a few trailers.
That's
but
fine. I can fill you and our audience in on what it was. So if you remember Devolver Digital previously, they did, it was called Devolver Max Pass, and they did a very satirical kind of look at the games industry and kind of Ubisoft Plus, Disney Plus, Netflix. They did a really ironic take on, it was Devolver Max Pass Plus, and they did a really ironic take on all their games are going on the subscription service, and it was all just a big lie. They're just releasing games as normal. This year, I kid you not, they went one step further. It had me in stitches. I didn't know what to expect. Basically, there's a character called Volvi, so Devolver Digital. He's a little vole with a giant right hand, and they essentially did it as though it was like a documentary piece on a video game mascot from back in the 80s and 90s. And you've got to watch it. You've got to go watch it just for the comedy. And they show all these like fake games. They show the character of Volvi in multiple titles that Devolver Digital have published in the last couple of years. So he was in Cult of the Lamb. He showed up in a couple of other things. He was this art director back in the day. He made this character essentially to take on the likes of Gex and other cartoon mascots from back in the 90s. And it kind of... I mean, you do need to go watch it. I'll skip through on the video for people watching. But essentially, it goes into the story that Volvi became out of love with the world, and they had to jazz him up for the 90s and make him more serious. So they give him a more edgy look, similar to how we've got with a lot of real world characters. He wasn't doing as popular. So what they did with him is they made him kind of like do graffiti, and he swears loads, like kind of the Grand Theft Auto era came about. And then he just went silent, and no one liked Volvi. The game sales tanked of the reboot of the more attitude era Volvi. And what happens from that is all time's passed, and we get to today, so current time at Summer Game Fest, and they come out on stage, and they've got Volve-E, so which is basically like a digital version of Volvi. And he comes on stage, and he's a robot, and they have all like the hosts who are way too over-exaggerated, like influencer voices, like, "Hey guys, what's up, everyone? We're on we're on stage to talk about Volvi's reboot return," which again, it's so funny because we've seen happen in the real life scenarios time and time again. They bring a robot out on stage with the original creator, who's like a scruffy old guy at this point. And the robot has been designed to basically produce games. And they go into the world of saying, you don't need any artistic talent or time or expertise on programming or development time, because that's not what happens. That's how games aren't made today, right? Basically taking a dig at how much shit people give developers. When we know loads of passion, time and effort goes into making all the great video games we love so much. So there's a bit of irony in there as well. They bring out this robot, and essentially all you have to do, Richie, is tell the robot what you want to do, and it makes a game for you, and that's how they go into the showcase. So they say, Volvi, I want a game that features Play-Doh people who have independently controlled limbs, who fly around on construction sites. And it goes, oh, Volvi, it does its thing, and it spits out the trailer for Human Fall Flat 2. And then after it's finished showing the trailer, some like oil ink spurts out its backside. And everyone's starting to get a bit curious as to what's going on. And they basically repeat that joke a couple of times with multiple game trailers. And then at the end of it, basically his big massive arm, which the original character had, he mutates and he basically grabs the host by the face and rips his face off. Everyone runs away as this character's essentially became sentient and he wants to take over the showcase. And it takes you right back to the original programmer's video of when he created Volvi. And there's like a touching moment where the creator basically has to kill his creation and then the presentation ends. It was honestly, watching it, you've got to go check out. It's so funny. Man. They know exactly what they're doing.
They're absolutely nuts. And I've just been looking through their website as you were talking, like watching like bits, the clips and stuff. And when you scroll down to the merch section, it's like they've got some Volvi t-shirts there. Mm-hmm. And being Devolver Digital, I actually read the description.
Yep.
So reading the description for their t-shirts, all Devolver shirts are best worn on the torso and arm portions of the body, but results may vary by individual. It's like, it's completely unnecessary. The Volvi hat, all Devolver hats are meant to be worn on the head, but results may vary by individual. The Sonic Star Porsche, hang it on your wall.
It's so good. Like, it's so good. I want one of these t-shirts. Like, it's
There's Pogs as well. They've even got some Pogs.
Pogs, man. That's
like that's clean. That in its own is like, oh yeah, it's like 90s. We'll get some Pogs going.
Yeah, it's so good. Like, Devolver Digital. So go check it out. The comedy and the production value is so good for a showcase. I enjoyed it infinitely more than this traditional Summer Game Fest get on stage and make trailer announcements. This was so much more tongue-in-cheek comedy. I loved it.
I think Devolver Digital might be the best at making showcases. They're better at making showcases than games.
Ooh, well.
They make good games, but their showcase is the next level.
Well, usually they just publish them, don't they? They're just a publishing arm.
Yeah.
So, but they do make some great picks. So I did want to pick out, before we kind of get to the end of the show, just some of the titles that were plucked out from this. So I did mention Human Fall Flat. We love Human Fall Flat here on the channel. We've played it as one of our first looks back in our Stadia days.
It's one of the highest selling games of all time.
It is. Like, it shocked us. It's up there with like Minecraft and GTA. Massively popular in China and parts of the world that we maybe don't have as much insight into the games industry. So,
as of March 2020, Human Fall Flat has sold more than 40 million copies.
That's insane. So this time around, from No Break Games, Human Fall Flat 2, team up and let your creativity run wild in Human Fall Flat 2, the outrageous new sequel to the much beloved capers of everyone's favourite physics-based human friends. It's bigger, better and clumsier than its predecessor, with puzzle platformers featuring brand new levels, customisable characters and even wilder physics-based fun. So that's coming to PC and consoles at some point in the future. We also got a trailer for Gunbrella, which... there was a couple of games on Showcase. We spoke about them before. There was Plucky Squire was here again. Neva, which we covered on PlayStation Showcase last week. Gunbrella, I just have to shout out because the art style looks super fun. It's a noir punk action adventure set in a world dependent on rapidly diminishing natural resources. Players take on a role of a gruff woodsman on a quest for revenge, armed with a mysterious Gunbrella, a firearm that doubles as an umbrella. His investigation becomes entangled with the inner workings of ghouls and gangsters, cops and cultists, and the fallout of corporate exploitation. This looks like Celeste meets Steamworld Dig, and it looks great. A gun and an umbrella, Richie. What more could you want?
It's Steampunk Celeste meets Steamworld Dig. Like, it looks awesome.
Down for it.
The Talos Principle was here as well. Well, Talos Principle 2. I think that's one a lot of people have got their eyes on. Looks
so
really cool.
that was on the stage when they had Volve E on the stage. The presenter was like, let me have a go at creating a game. And he goes, I like Talos Principle. What if you could make one but with a 2 at the end? And then it goes, Volve E, make it, and then the trailer kicks in. It's like it's very like that type of card. If you enjoy Mythic Quest, if anyone out there is watching Mythic Quest like I am on Apple TV, very like on the nose insight into what the video game industry actually is like. And the last one I just wanted to throw out was Baby Steps, which I didn't realize at first, but if you watch the trailer, it makes sense. You are playing... It's a literal walking simulator, Richie. Baby Steps.
Yeah.
You are playing as Nate, an unemployed, failed son with nothing to show, until one day he discovers a power he never knew he had, putting one foot in front of the other. explore a world shrouded in mist, one step at a time, hike the scenic mountains by placing each footstep yourself in an original physics-based gameplay from the minds of Ape Out and Getting Over It. Take in the sights, fall in love with the local fauna, and try to find the meaning in a wasted life.
Don't fall in love with the local fauna. Don't do that.
Don't do that. But essentially, it's if you take the physics of Human Fall Flat, where you control each leg independently, and put it essentially into a gorgeous world to explore, that's the style of it. And it looks like you're basically an overweight middle-aged man who's got nothing going in his life. You can't even walk.
In a grey, skin-tight onesie.
Yeah. And you're dropped into this crazy world. You've got to basically walk around and explore what the world has to offer. There's a lot of funny comedy beats in this one. There's a guy falling over. The trailer shows off busy and exploring around. It's got like boat simulator elements of comedy where you're gonna laugh probably more so on the time with your face on the floor.
It's kind of slapstick.
I'm not expecting kind of A quality writing or story in depth character development, but I could happily probably play along and just watch him trip over rocks. There actually is a great part of the trailer where there's a cairn of rocks and he kicks it over, and in the trailer, just as he kicks the pile of rocks over, a random like Australian guy pops up and goes, "Why'd you do that?" And he's like, I didn't mean to. I tripped. He's like, you tripped, but it looked like your foot went straight into the rocks. He's like, yeah, I was trying to straighten them up. And he's going, looks to me like you just pushed them over. And they have like a weird, awkward, like Taika Waititi comedy back and forth about he didn't mean to. His leg just leaned over and knocked them. And the other guy gets defensive about, oh, your foot just leaned over and knocked them. And yeah, go watch the trailer. It's quite funny. But Baby Steps, Human Fall Flat, and Gumbrella are my top picks from the Devolver Digital Showcase. Really fun time with it. Definitely go check it out. And a couple of new announcements, which, again, that's what I want to see from a showcase. I want to see new games that I've never seen before. So we'll no doubt, out of all of them, probably cover Human Fall Flat 2 on the channel. Because we played with the community last time. We had about 8-9 people, if I recall, with us. And it was a great laugh just watching everyone fall over each other and try and help each other up things and hit each other with wrecking balls and fall off the face of the earth. It was a really, really good laugh. So go check that one out. Pivoting away then from all the Game Fest stuff, check out XPass yesterday. We did break down the whole Xbox showcase. We held off recording this week until after the showcase, so all the news will be fresh for you. So if you've not checked out that show, go catch up with it. And of course, Luna Listening is still available now. We did have a couple of Amazon Luna games announced. My guess is, Richie, after the Ubisoft Forward yesterday, there'll be a couple more titles listed in there from Ubi as well.
Yeah, I would expect so.
Rounding out the show, though, bit of a sad story on this point. Friday the 13th, in the success of Dead by Daylight, Friday the 13th, the game has tweeted out saying regarding the expiration of a licensing agreement. I'll read straight from the tweet. The time has come. Our license for Friday the 13th will expire on December 31st, 2023. On that date, Friday the 13th, the game will no longer be available for sale, both physically and digitally, but the game will continue to function through to December the following year if you already own it. At this time, we've made the decision to reduce the price of the game to $4.99 for the base game and $99. Sorry, 99 cents. 99 cents, yeah, for each piece of DLC content. If you like, they'd like to thank the community, etc., for the dedication and fun they've shown Friday the 13th, and Gun Interactive, the developers as a whole. It's one of those things, Richie, unfortunately, talking about game preservation. As much as Nicolas Cage is in Dead by Daylight, the kind of other counterpart to this, ironically, is another massive horror franchise, Friday the 13th. Due to some awkward licensing agreements with the movie rights holders, this game is no longer going to be on the market, and it's a bit of a shame.
I would assume that this is one of them situations where if the player base was strong enough, they could have renegotiated the license. But if it's getting to the point where the license is expiring, what's the player base looking like? It might just be not worth it, and then that also means that the team can go and do something different. It's one of them things where I'm all for game preservation, but online games, multiplayer stuff, it's a lot harder to do because if there isn't people playing it, you can't just expect people to leave the servers running all the time, and licenses do expire. But yeah, I mean, I think they're doing it right. They've give us notice. Yeah, you've got till the end of this year to actually buy the game. They've dropped the price massively, so to like encourage you to do so. Yeah. And then after that, you've got an entire full year to enjoy it. So if you bought the game now for $5 plus 99 cents for all the each DLC, which is, I don't know, maybe you might spend, I don't know how much DLC, probably I imagine maybe $20 $30 for everything. Mm-hmm. You've got that for a year. I don't think that's a good way to go out.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. And Friday the 13th, we've enjoyed what we've played of it in the past. It's not something we'd always go back to, but it's still a shame to see it go either way. I'm sure it'll be back in some form. Horror games and horror movies, for that matter, always in a perpetual cycle. We might see it reimagined, but in the meantime, you also do have Dead by Daylight, which isn't too far in terms of a similar scope with other horror villains out there. Is Jason actually in Dead by Daylight, or was he in it at some point? Because they've had everyone else. If they've got Nicolas Cage, you can't tell me they've not had Jason in it at some point.
I don't know.
Let us know in the chat if you do. It seems like an easy win.
If not, this might be the opportunity. Maybe you get Jason over Dead by Daylight, and then Friday the 13th effectively lives on in Dead by Daylight.
That'd be cool. That'd be a nice get. Speaking of cameos and other games, Fall Guys, the much beloved title, which we still haven't played on the channel. We might do it this week, actually, Richie.
I think I've got it installed. I think on my Xbox.
I've got it
on my PlayStation.
I've got it on my PlayStation, I think. Fall Guys. Lara Croft tumbling to Fall Guys soon. The official Lara Croft Tomb Raider account tweeted out a very short 7-second clip of it, but essentially it looks like the skin's come. Just wanted to point out because of the PlayStation history, and I do enjoy Fall Guys. I haven't played it in a while, so it could be on the cards for this Thursday because we've not got anything in the pipeline planned as of yet. Unless we get some big crazy Ubisoft announcement or something.
Yeah, I want to hold off announcing what we're going to be playing on stream this week to see what we get from Ubisoft and what we get from Xbox as well. There is actually, I was going to mention an XPass, but I might as well double up here. There is on get a free trial for Ubisoft Plus, available, a 1 week free trial.
Philly Boots. So Game Pass, Showcase, everything, all that aside, I just wanted to round up the show with an interesting game, Richie. I dropped this in the doc. I don't know if you'd heard of this before I dropped it in the doc. But for those
I'd heard rumours.
For those who are big Disney fans out there, you may know that Winnie the Pooh went into the public domain probably about a year ago now, just short of a year ago, and everyone in their own right has taken the beloved character, the beloved family children's character of Pooh Bear, and they've made them into some crazy things so far. So to round up the show, it's not confirmed coming to PlayStation, but I just need to add this in. In Winnie's Hall, the Winnie the Pooh inspired game, you're essentially playing as a tapeworm virus inside Winnie the Pooh's stomach because he consumes that much sugary honey. It evolves and mutates the Pooh Bear into some kind of crazy, monstrous creature.
Think of Inside.
It's literally almost like a game of Tetris within Winnie the Pooh's insides. And there's not really much more to say, but this is what happens when copyright infringement is no longer a legal thing. Beloved characters can be taken and made into anything and everything. So Winnie's Hall,
roguelike dungeon. It's a roguelike dungeon crawler that has very much inspiration from Winnie the Pooh, and Inside, where you end up by this monstrous thing at the end. So this game should not ever exist, but it does, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. I'm concerned for the mental health of the developers.
Well, you know what? Because of the IP and the morbid curiosity of the internet, it will sell way more than it ever would have if Winnie the Pooh wasn't attached to it.
God, yeah, this is going to twice different. The devs are going to do well on the back of this because it's just. And I love it's wrong. It's just wrong.
And I love the Eurogamer article says if we get this, what happens if it's successful? Do we get Piglet's backside of mouldy bacon, Tigger's bouncing orifice of excitement, or Eeyore's struggle with IBS? Who knows? Because it's public domain. I'm sure Disney lawyers are all over this trying to do something, but after 100 years, what are you gonna do? That brings us to a 1 whole year of talking to PS. This show might be copyright royalty free in 99 years time, Richie. So if you're tuning into this show in 2123, you can have it because it's just our two faces and we'll be long gone. So have at it, YouTube people. Make a game. I'm not going to say that. I was going to say game. No, I'm not going to say it. I was going to say it. You can fill in those blanks what you will. This has been Talking to PS for 1 whole year. Thank you for your continued support here on the channel, Helix Plays Games, and all the great content we bring you here on the show. My name's been Chris.
I've been Richie.
We'll see you next time. Play wherever makes you happy, folks. Take care. Goodbye.
Bye.